Hi, this is Denise Dory. Welcome to the San Francisco Liberal Buzz. I'm your host and your guest today. Everybody's got a cold or flu or something, water coming out of their face. I'm going to talk about the Homeless Person's Bill of Rights tonight. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about cannabis legislation being proposed in the Congress. It would remove cannabis from the Controlled Substance Act, and it would allow states to decide whether they want to regulate it for recreational use or medicinal use. So that ought to be interesting how that plays out, and look for that. But first, we're going to talk about the Homeless Bill of Rights here.
Or a Tenderloin or a Mission neighborhood issue, but really try to connect the affordable housing cuts in the late 70s and the early 80s, the absolute demolition and destruction of project-based Section 8 and public housing funding, and the dismantling of any kind of safety net for disabled people and for unemployed people. And connect that to the fact that so many of us are now finding ourselves out in the street. And the reaction to that has increasingly been to try to make us disappear. I can go back to when Agnew swept the Panhandle, and that was going to end homelessness and the hate. And then Jordan and Willie Brown behind him. Willie Brown was going to get the helicopters from Oakland with the infrared stuff, and he was going to get rid of all the homeless people in Golden Gate Park, and that was going to eliminate homelessness and the hate. Gavin Newsom does Sit Lie, and that's going to eliminate homelessness and the hate. We're not going to eliminate homelessness anywhere until we get to the cause of why in the early 80s we saw a re-emergence of contemporary homelessness in the United States.
And a lot of us are casualties of that, and due to also the skyrocketing of housing prices as opposed to the stagnant wages that we have experienced since the 80s, outsourcing of jobs, of which I'm a casualty. We had great jobs just go, instead of doing the job for $5 an hour, people were doing it overseas for maybe 1/4 that or less, probably less. So vulture capitalism, it just hits right to the core of society. But the Homeless Person's Bill of Rights is an effort to offer some dignity to homeless people who are on the streets, and it leaves them vulnerable to a lot of things that, when you have those four walls, you take for granted. So on December 3rd, 2012, Assemblymember Tom Amiano introduced Assembly Bill 5, the Homeless Person's Bill of Rights and Fairness Act. It was inspired by the passage of Rhode Island's homeless-based Bill of Rights in June of 2012, and is based on outreach with homeless Californians about their experiences with criminalizations and their input about how their civil rights could best be protected. So they've been allowed to write up their own guidelines, because people who haven't been homeless wouldn't really be in much of a position to be effective on this issue. The facts are that laws that segregate, make criminals of people based on their status rather than their behavior, or that prohibit certain people's rights to be in public spaces, are not just sad relics from the past. Today's numerous laws infringe on poor people's ability to exist in public space, to acquire housing, employment, and basic services, and to equal protection under the law. So, the author of the Homeless Person's Bill of Rights and Fairness Act was co-sponsored by the Western Regional Advocacy Project, of whom you just saw a clip. I went to the Haight-Ashbury Neighborhood Council, and they did a very good presentation, which will be aired tomorrow on the Axis of Love show at 10 p.m. So let's get back to the following rights of homeless people are enumerated in the bill. Freedom from discrimination based on homeless status. in interactions with law enforcement, security guards, business owners, property managers, or BID agents, when seeking or maintaining employment, when seeking or maintaining housing or shelter, when seeking services, public benefits, medical care, help from police, and completing all necessary steps to vote. Now that's a big one. Voting, many people don't even realize, the homeless people don't realize that they can register to vote by registering at, say, 101 Hyde, or maybe at the shelter. Some shelters allow you to use their address too. And it's vital that homeless people vote. They have the most at stake, really. And they should have property rights, freedom from unreasonable searches and or seizures of personal property, because you're more likely to have your personal property seized when you're outside, obviously. Freedom to access to public space, to use public spaces freely, move freely through them, to use them for rest, to own and possess private property in public spaces, to share, accept, and or give food in public spaces. Now, that give food in public spaces is a problem that Food Not Bombs has had. They've been outlawed in cities across the world. Well, mainly in the U.S. and Bosnia, and maybe the list keeps growing. I'm sure it does, unfortunately. I'm about to touch bases with them, hopefully, at the Anarchist Book Fair on March 16th and 17th. You might be able to see them, as well as a lot of other folks. Homeless folks have a right to the same protection that law enforcement agencies are to afford all citizens, such as right to reasonable protection from domestic violence, sexual assault, hate crimes, and robberies, the right to make their own decisions regarding whether or not to enter into public or private shelters or social service programs, the right to engage in life-sustaining activities. There are places I've lived. I was homeless in another part of the world, and there were hygiene centers. You could go get cleaned up, take a shower, make phone calls, access public services or computers, just whatever it was something I don't see here. There should be more of those types of places. I think there was one place on Turk Street. I don't know if they're still there. And the thing about, some people live in cars, so there should be a right to occupy vehicles while legally parked on public property. And the right to sleep, sit, stand, possess personal property, eat, or to engage in other life-sustaining activities. The right to privacy, confidentiality of housing status, poverty status, health status. The right to confidentiality of personal records regarding housing status, income level, mental illness, physical disability. That's big. The right to counsel, so you can have quality defense counsel in criminal hearings and civil warrants when possible punishment might include jail time or commitment to a public health institution, because too often people are just shuffled off into parts of the system where they really don't belong. They've got these community courts where people actually don't have the same rights they would in a regular court of law. And some school children who are homeless sometimes have to leave their school and go to enroll in a new school. They would rather remain in the same school they had attended before becoming homeless. Moving to a new school is traumatic for kids. And there's other rights. Restitution, if you're a victim of a crime, you can have right to restitution. The right to restitution for loss, damage to, or destroyed property and or personal belongings. The right to purchase goods or services. That covers a lot, I'm sure. Internets. It's hard to buy internet service. I don't know how go to the library, you get an hour at the library. So, I'm not knocking the library, but sometimes people want to be on a little longer. There should be a right to shelter for 24/7 for all people, and it should all be sanitary and safe. The right to safe, decent, permanent, affordable housing. The right to income. That's big. Yeah. The way to do that is, the right to income is to pay people more for their work, rather than subsidizing Walmart with Walmart food stamps. Yeah, you know where I'm going with that. So the right to be provided the supplies necessary for academic success, backpacks, textbooks, notebooks, pencils, pens, appropriate academic technology. And so that's very exciting, that if that's even, I would not like to see it be watered down, because it would really, that's not asking a lot, I don't think. The Western Regional Advocacy Project and allies in 8 other cities across the U.S. compiled information from homeless people about their daily interactions with local police, private security guards, and criminal justice system. Phase 1 of this outreach effort focused on speaking with 336 homeless people self-identified as mentally ill, and they spoke with an additional 479 homeless people who did not necessarily identify as having a mental illness. Now, I remember that a lot in the 80s, you saw more mentally ill people on the streets because Reagan closed down the mental hospitals to save money. And 850 out of 815 homeless people, all answering a consistent set of questions, all did so for the opportunity to speak unfiltered to the broader community about what really is happening to our nation's streets, to the poor, disabled, homeless community members. And the main illegal offenses that homeless people are being targeted with: 82% for sleeping, with 45% of these people cited and 25% arrested. 78% for loitering or hanging out, with 39% of these people cited and 20% arrested. 77% for sitting or lying down, with 40% of these people cited and 22% arrested. 52% for panhandling, with 52% of these people cited and 29% arrested. So that's just a lot of law enforcement, taxpayers' money going where you're seeing where it's going. 60% reported that their harassment, citation, or arrest was because they appeared homeless. 47% reported having bench warrants issued for their arrests. 22% reported having outstanding arrests warrants at the time of the survey. 31% reported being incarcerated, while only a very few reported being referred to a program when brought before the court. So 30% reported losing their housing or being discharged from a program due to incarceration. Only 29 people felt that the police respected their rights, which is 6% overall. And 83% of people do not know of places where it's safe or legal to sleep outside. Only 17% people reported that they do. And there are people, do you feel like you're being profiled because of the way they look? For instance, 48% said their economic status, looking poor, was the cause for them being harassed. 23% was their race. 14% was the gender. And 15% was for a disability. Why they would be arrested or harassed for a disability. And do they harass them without using the law? And 75% report that they do. So, and private security guards also do that, order people away or police public sidewalks and parks. So they're not even really police. They're just rent-a-cops, I guess you call them. So it's really important that we write to Tom Amiano about this issue, and even write to your board of supervisors, the progressive ones, I suppose. Tom Amiano is a place to start, though. He's in the assembly, and so he probably would like to hear your input about it, and also the Western Regional Advocacy Project. Also, what happened was the Recreation and Parks Department tore out the native plant nursery on Lincoln Way. I guess it's 5th and Lincoln, or I used to go to City College, and City College had a class where we participated in the native plant propagation nursery It was just on the side of the road. It was just a short walk from Kezar Stadium, and it invited the community to participate. There full community participation, and it was just bulldozed with no community oversight. Just bulldozed it. Same thing with the recycling center. The recycling center site was also removed, and this, well, I've got here, they had, the San Francisco Parks and Alliance, which is a private non-profit, and they have not participated in any outreach to the community on this issue. So it would be good to Google and try and contact the San Francisco Parks Alliance and let them know how you feel about the native plant nursery. Native plants are better for our landscape than, say, I don't know, non-natives that are, some of them are invasive species. The native fauna don't really eat those. They eat the native plants, like, oh, I don't know, there's Baccharis pilularis. It's a little shrub that has little berries. We were covering that last episode 6, about the oh, hi, we've got a call. Hello, caller, you're on the air with
oh, hey Denise, it's Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Yeah, it's Psychic Frank.
Great to hear from you, Psychic Frank.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to mention about the woman you had on last week when they were talking about the habitat in Golden Gate Park. They want to AstroTurf a soccer field.
Yeah, that's right. They want to put AstroTurf.
Yeah, could you repeat?
Yes, they in the western end of Golden Gate Park, there is proposed by somebody with deep pockets, a soccer stadium, soccer fields, to replace the natural turf, and there will be many native species impacted by the artificial lights. Because who wants to sleep with the lights on? Do you sleep with the lights on? You know, so yeah, it's an issue. It's also, the birds are put off by, migrating birds are put off by these lights near the beach. So it's just not really a no-win situation, and there's a very few people. I mean, this can be moved. They don't have to put it where in that spot. They can put it in another spot or use our natural turf. Are you still there? Are you still with us, Frank? Francois? Well, thanks for your input. Yeah. So you couldn't really hunt mice. You know, they have predatory birds that hunt mice, and mice are, kind of overpopulate, and it's a part of the ecosystem. So we need to keep on them. We'll keep you posted about that issue. We'll on a future show. Definitely, I'm in touch with them, the Audubon Society, and SF Ocean's Edge. So SF Ocean's Edge are the people to contact on Facebook, or Google them and find their contact information. I don't have it off the top of my head, but yeah, they're on Facebook too. So they're the people that are really doing a lot to counter this soccer field, and I back them 100%. Now, this criminalization fact sheet I've got here, but I haven't gotten to it, unfortunately. But we do want to counter the Jim Crow laws and the anti-Okie laws. So come to, I guess we're getting to the end of the show now. It went quick. This 20 minutes went like that. So I want to remind you to go to the Anarchist Book Fair, March 16th and 17th. That's on the weekend. Armory Building, 14th and Mission. Yeah, 14th. I think it's 14th and Mission. And you will see SF Ocean's Edge there. You can sign one of their postcards, as well as participate in a lot of other liberal and progressive ideals that we have to choose from. There's a whole lot of things to do that I can't wait. It's just a month away, and I can hardly wait. That's my favorite thing to do in the springtime. So I'd like to see you there. And there's also a town hall meeting to save Social Security. It's going to be Thursday, March 14th at the First Unitarian Church, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And there will be lunch available for $2 after the meeting. And we wanted to have the latest information for you, why Social Security isn't causing the budget deficit and how Medicare finances can be fixed. Don't buy into the fake budget crisis. Call the Capitol Switchboard, 877-762-8762, to tell Congress no cuts. As we're not broke, we're being ripped off. Remember, folks, that's a big one. And we haven't seen the banks go to jail, but we've seen plenty of homeless folks go to jail, and that's going to end soon. I have a feeling it just isn't going to get by too many people for too long. I have a really positive outlook about that. I think that people are going to not put up with this anymore. We've just had enough, and there's more of us than them, and so we can't lose. And also on the cannabis issues, I didn't get to many of them, but it will be on my pre-recorded show, which will follow the next one. The Homeless Bill of Rights is tomorrow night, which is the rest of this video that you were watching earlier, this video here of this fella. And we'll have the rest of that show will take place Wednesday, 10 p.m., Channel 29. And then Frank's show is going to be next Thursday. Not this Thursday, but the next Thursday, 5 p.m. Okay, ciao. Stay liberal.